The late Robert Redford was one of the most talented and versatile actors ever to conquer the big screen. After appearing as a guest star on various television programs such as The Twilight Zone and Alfred Hitchcock Presents, he gained notoriety in 1963 with the Broadway play Barefoot in the Park. From the very beginning of his fame, Redford always gravitated towards diverse roles, refusing to be typecast as the classic handsome romantic lead. Because of his unwavering commitment to authenticity and often subtle, emotionally intelligent performances, Redford became a champion of character-driven and clever storytelling. That commitment continued off-screen as he championed independent filmmaking. His filmography spanned iconic westerns, political thrillers, dramas, and intimate character studies, each marked by thematic depth and creativity. Despite this impressive variety, a few of his movies rise to the top as highlights of a legendary career. Captain America, The Winter Soldier, 2014. Robert Redford as Alexander Pierce in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. The second installment of the Captain America saga is an intense, action-driven watch with a political acuteness that thrills and engages the viewer in deeper thoughts about the real world. Captain America: The Winter Soldier features clever writing, continuous plot twists, and the emotional stakes that keep the viewer on edge throughout the watch. Robert Redford's performance is a driving force behind the movie's success. Alexander Pierce is one of the scariest and most well-written antagonists in the MCU because of how real he is. Instead of being a monster or a super soldier, Redford's character represents the ugly truth about the government's corruption. He contributes to creating a thematically complex and thought-provoking political thriller. The Way We Were, 1973. Robert Redford and Barbra Streisand as Hubble and Katie in The Way We Were. Between romance and drama, The Way We Were is one of the most tragically iconic love stories ever. The movie follows Robert Redford and Barbra Streisand in their tumultuous and passionate relationship, made difficult by the characters' mutual differences. The Way We Were is bitter, but there is an emotional sincerity that aches and comforts simultaneously. Although it depicts the unraveling of a relationship that struggles to survive, it also captures its beauty and quiet resilience. At the end of the day, this sad romance from the 1970s is a timeless exploration of the limitations and strengths of love. The Candidate, 1972. Robert Redford stands in a crowd of supporters in The Candidate. An astute political satire, The Candidate came out in 1972 and was described in the New York Times as one of the few good, truly funny American political comedies ever made. The movie sees Robert Redford step into the shoes of Bill McKay, a young and idealistic California lawyer who is reluctantly lured into a seemingly unwinnable Senate race. With its boldly realistic depiction of the intricate and ethically ambiguous world of politics, The Candidate engages the viewer by exploring a fundamentally dramatic subject with humor and insight. The result is a tragicomic story of ambition and integrity. It is not a surprise that the film won an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. The Horse Whisperer, 1998. Robert Redford looking at a horse in The Horse Whisperer. Robert Redford's career is intertwined with the Western genre, but 1998's The Horse Whisperer was the legendary actor's final jaunt out west. The quintessential horse movie sees Redford play a talented trainer, who helps a young woman regain her riding skills once again. Like many of Redford's best, it's the sincerity of the film that shines the brightest. Redford also directed The Horse Whisperer, and it's clear that the film held sentimental value. It features an A-list cast including Scarlett Johansson and Sam Neill, but it's Redford who really steals the show. Tom is a bittersweet hero whose commitment to his lifestyle keeps him apart from the ones he loves. Naturally, Redford stuns as such a complex character. Jeremiah Johnson, 1972. Jeremiah Johnson looks over his shoulder in front of a mountain in the film of the same name. Custom image by Ana Nieves. An unusual western by Sidney Pollack, the 1972 gem drew inspiration from the legendary story of Mexican War veteran and mountain man Jeremiah Johnson. Robert Redford plays the titular character with an authenticity and depth that match the introspective nature of the story. Jeremiah Johnson stands out from other movies of the same genre due to its contemplative quality. Nevertheless, the movie does not sacrifice the more brutal aspects typical of Old West films. Jeremiah Johnson delves into the silent solitude of a man determined to survive the unforgiving wilderness of the Rocky Mountains. The character-driven direction of Pollack and Robert Redford's performances put Jeremiah Johnson among the 1970s best westerns. The Natural, 1984. Robert Redford as Roy in The Natural. Baseball and cinema go together perfectly, and Robert Redford's turn in The Natural brought sincerity back to the waning sports genre. Redford stars as an aging ballplayer who finally gets his chance to start in the majors after his career was sidetracked. Set in the late 1930s, the Bernard Malamud adaptation is stylized and timeless. The film is an emotional whirlwind that captures the majesty of America's pastime. Redford perfectly understood the assignment, and his performance as Roy Hobbs is just exaggerated enough to match the tone, without sacrificing any of the realistic drama at the heart of the story. There's a reason The Natural is an all-time great baseball flick. 3 Days of the Condor, 1975. Robert Redford wearing a coat and glasses in 3 Days of the Condor. A suspenseful thriller released 1 year after the Watergate scandal concluded, 3 Days of the Condor is a gripping exploration of government secrecy and institutional betrayal. Robert Redford plays Joe Turner, a brainy CIA agent whose colleagues end up murdered. Thrust into a cat-and-mouse game of survival, Joe has to decide who he can rely on. The movie captures the rising paranoia of the post-Watergate era. Although 3 Days of the Condor was a product of its time, the story is still able to captivate the viewer while also playing with feelings of mistrust that are still present in society. The political thriller has been recommended by real CIA agents. Barefoot in the Park, 1967. Jane Fonda and Robert Redford in Barefoot in the Park, 2. After rising to fame in the theatre landscape with the role of Paul Bratter in the play Barefoot in the Park, Robert Redford reprised his role in the cinematic adaptation. With Jane Fonda as the romantic co-lead, the Neil Simon play translated into one of the most hilarious and authentic rom-coms in the history of cinema. Redford and Fonda's characterizations of their opposite yet equally magnetic protagonists had such a natural chemistry that the movie became a cult classic. Despite its light-hearted nature and charming late 60s setting, the film is surprisingly touching and timeless. Redford's uptight yet sarcastic energy and Fonda's sweet and free-spirited allure provide entertainment and emotional nuance.